So what is a vacancy tax? A vacancy tax is an annual fee on housing that sits empty for the majority of the year. So the elegance of a vacancy tax is that it shifts the incentive to use more of the existing inventory while simultaneously generating a new funding source that can be used to build more housing and also help fill other funding gaps in the community. The increased supply, both from using more of the existing supply and also building more housing, is then able to increase the supply, and that stabilizes costs, typically what other markets have seen that has passed vacancy taxes. And also a big part of this is it discourages the future conversion to more second homes moving forward. So at some point, it is likely that interest rates will drop back, maybe not back to 2020 levels, but they will. And the question is, when those houses start to move, who's going to buy them? Are we going to see more locals outbid by second homeowners, look to keep those homes empty for a part of the year or most of the year? So what we really want to do is see how we can shift the trajectory moving forward towards more full-time occupancy, knowing that that's going to be more people here supporting businesses on a regular basis, enrolling their kids in school, and just participating full-time in the economy.
And so here in South Lake Tahoe, we're not the first to be considering a vacancy tax by any stretch. Around the United States, here in California, there are a number of other cities, including Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, that have all implemented vacancy taxes. Newport, Rhode Island, Frederick, Maryland. Washington, D.C. has actually had their vacancy tax since 2010. Several counties in Hawaii have vacancy taxes. All of Utah has actually had a vacancy tax since the 80s. And so that's just the United States. In Canada, over a dozen cities have a vacancy tax in addition to a federal vacancy tax nationwide. Around the world, there are vacancy taxes in Japan, Austria, Australia, India, all of the country of Ireland, all of France. So we're really not the first.
Yeah, and in addition to having vacancy taxes having been passed in other countries and cities around the world, they've also been studied here in Tahoe for the last 5 years. So what we have here, and when we share this, people will be actually able to click on these links, is vacancy taxes have been mentioned and discussed in reports done by all sorts of different organizations in our area, trying to figure out funding to solve local problems. So what you'll see here is that it's been mentioned in some city strategic plans for years. It's also part of the South Shore Regional Housing Action Plan. The TTD, the Tahoe Transportation District, also mentioned vacancy taxes when considering funding sources. So these are not a new idea. What's important to note is that as people keep mentioning these in reports, what stops them from being moved forward isn't the policy itself, but the lack of political will.